Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the Fantasy 420, where today we will be continuing our look into the 2019 fantasy baseball season with the third base position. As usual, we will be using the Fantasy Pros aggregate rankings. Since I don't know which platform you'll be using, you can use that as a basis. And without further ado, let's just get started. The first name on the list, I would just say don't be afraid to take Nolan Arenado. He seems to be falling a little bit in some mock drafts I've been in because he's the name that's been at the top of the first round for such a long time. But if he slips to you at 5, 6 pick or later in the first round, you got to just jump on it. He's a sure bet to hit 100, get 100 runs scored, hit around 40 home runs, get above 100 RBIs, and hit 300. And he's going to be the cornerstone of your fantasy team as long as he stays healthy, which he usually does, knock on wood. And he plays at Coors Field, so just get him. The first guy I will buy into, though, is Chris Bryant, obviously of the Chicago Cubs. He's being picked around number 27. And he's a first-round pick of last year. Obviously a little bit disappointing. Injuries limited to 100 games, so he's around a third-round value. He's being protected by Anthony Rizzo and Javi Baez, who just went off last year. So you won't be able to pitch around him, and he's going to hit around second, third in that potent batting order, and the Cubs should be contending for that division. Although I picked Milwaukee, I think they'll be right there. So I've always loved his talent. I think he has a ton of upside, and I just think that any guy who has the upside for 40 home runs, 100, and the runs and RBIs, and also hit 300, you just gotta take the chance. And the beginning of the third round is a great place for you to do that. Somebody who can get you first round value there. So Chris Bryant, first guy I'll buy into. Second guy I'll buy into is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's pick number 51. This will be his first season in the major leagues. He'll be called up in around April by the Toronto Blue Jays. In fantasy, you always have to pick your guy and sometimes even reach for your guy, and Vladimir Guerrero is going to be my guy. I think he's put video game numbers at every level he's played. Pardon me. He's got an amazing family pedigree. His dad's one of the best hitters in the game history. He's passed the eye test. His YouTube videos, when you watch him play and the home runs and power he hits, it's absolutely insane. And I think he's going to hit high in the order for a bad team. And this year is going to be his year to get experience. He's going to hit probably around third to fifth in the order by the end of the year. And I think he's going to be the AL Rookie of the Year. So I would buy into him, maybe even reach a round earlier, but sometimes you just got to have fun too and pick your guy, and this year that would be him, Vlad Guerrero Jr. So I'm buying into him. If you don't get any of those guys, I think Miguel Andujar is a great option. He's the Yankees' third baseman, picked around 85, so he gives you a baseline of around last season at 83 runs scored, 27 home runs, 92 RBIs, and 297. And that was his age 24 season. So you're assuming with another year and another spring training under his belt, those numbers will probably go up a little bit. And I do expect the Yankees to be right in the mix for the World Series, if not win the World Series. They're one of a handful of teams this year that I could see easily doing that. Their lineup is so potent, and he's going to be hitting around 6th, 7th. So I would buy in him at 85. I think those numbers, and then you get an uptick in the production, and he's going to be producing at that level at least, and probably above it. So the next guy I'll move on to is the first A. I don't think I've mentioned an Oakland A yet, although I may have missed Matt Olson on the first baseman go-around. Matt Chapman, he's only 64% owned, although he's 89th. Ranked, which is a little bit crazy. I think people are just selling on him to start the year because he's a little behind on his shoulder surgery, so he might not start the year. on the regular season roster or healthy. He might end up on the DL. And I think the A's are expected to regress a little bit. They lost Sean Manaea already to shoulder surgery. He might not even play in the 2019 season. So I think people are just selling on the A's, and I think that 89 number will actually drop lower. He'll be closer to probably around with the 100s area when the season begins. So when that happens, you buy. He's a really young guy. He's going to be turning into his age 26 season. And although he might not start the year amazing because of the shoulder surgery, he hit last season really, really well from average power RBI standpoint. So you got to think, once again, another year, he gets a little bit more experience and those numbers uptick a little bit, and he's going to hit third for the Oakland A's. So the numbers are going to be there. I would buy into him at that position. So next on the list, another A. Jurickson Profar was just signed by the A's after a little bit of a mini resurgence last season. He was always a top prospect who kind of underwhelmed for the Rangers, and he signed a one-year prove-it deal with the A's this offseason, and he's going to be projected to hit leadoff for them and play every single day. I'd imagine there's no reason not to play him every single day ragged for the A's, and I'm sure they will. So he, like I said, had a decent season last year after being an underwhelming prospect. He had sort of a bounce back, and if you assume those numbers continue to trend up, then I think buying into him at his 138 spot would be a wise move. But I also think, once again, that number, depending on what site you are, it's fluctuating a lot. On Yahoo, I saw him at around 170. And then, like I said, that could fall farther the sooner the season begins, because people not buying into the A's or not buying into him because he underwhelmed for so long. So, like I said, I would just take that small later round risk and buy in. Just two more names to round out the video. I would definitely buy into Miguel Sano. He is at 164 on Fantasy Pros, but once again, I would check the site because I checked Yahoo before this, and he was going at around 200. Obviously, a very underwhelming season last year, even got demoted to the minor leagues, but he is projected to be in their lineup this year again. He had a monster 2016 season with 28 home runs and 75 runs and 77 RBIs. So that's almost Miguel Andujar numbers of last year. So if he maybe has a great start to the year, the Twins pump him up, and he even upticks those numbers and has a great 2018 season, then you are getting a massive steal at around pick number 200. So, and he's got that position all to himself over there. So assuming he doesn't bomb like he did at the start of last year, I would definitely buy into Miguel Sano. And finally, the last name I would definitely buy into is Eduardo Escobar for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He's at around 210, and this is more of the Diamondbacks have lost more than any team, arguably, this offseason, with Paul Goldschmidt now gone, John Jay, A.J. Pollock, and Patrick Corbin, although that doesn't affect the hitters. But I definitely would probably expect them to regress maybe more than any team this season. But that being said, they signed him to an extension, gave him a bunch of money, Escobar, and he had a great season last year, hit I think it was like a major league record amount of doubles for his position, and I expect him to hit second in that order, and they're going to expect a lot out of him this year, and he's going to have to produce for that team and stay healthy because they just got no one else. So I would just buy into him at that price, and you might get, like I said, Miguel Andujar numbers or even better if he beasts up. So thanks a lot for listening, guys. I will be back tomorrow, most likely with a shortstop video, and It's a pleasure as always. Take it easy.